There's a certain kind of person we all know, the one who checks in on others but rarely gets checked on, the one who gives advice, comforts friends at 2 a.m., who carries everyone's secrets but tells no one their own. They're the listener, the caretaker, the strong one. But behind that strength, behind the calm, reassuring smile, lies a quiet kind of sadness. The sadness of being everyone's anchor, but no one's home. No one becomes the strong one by accident. It starts quietly, long before you realize you've taken on that role. Sometimes it begins in childhood, in a house that looked ordinary from the outside. Maybe you grew up in a place where love had conditions. You were praised when you behaved, when you helped, when you didn't make things harder. You learned early that peace was something you could earn if you stayed useful, polite, responsible. You noticed how the room felt lighter when you fixed a problem, how grown-ups smiled when you calmed a sibling, or cleaned up, or swallowed your feelings. Love started to sound like approval, safety started to feel like silence, so you began to chase both. Or maybe your story had more noise than quiet. Maybe you were the emotional adult in a house full of chaos, the peacekeeper between arguing parents, the comforter to a crying brother, the translator between moods you didn't cause but still felt responsible for. You learned to sense tension like changes in weather. Before anyone said a word, you already knew who was angry, who was sad, who was pretending. You became the little rescuer, small hands holding big storms. Helping gave you a sense of control in a world that didn't always make sense. It felt good, even noble, to be the one who could make things better, and somewhere deep inside, a quiet rule took root. If I take care of others, maybe I'll be safe too. That lesson followed you, unnoticed, into adulthood. You don't even realize when you're doing it anymore. You listen more than you speak. You sense moods before anyone names them. You offer comfort before it's requested. You fix things that aren't yours to fix. People admire that about you. Your steadiness, your kindness, your calm. But underneath all of that competence lives a nervous hum, a small, constant tension. Because if peace depends on you, you can never truly rest. And so you grow into the strong one, not because you were born that way, but because life taught you there was no other safe way to be. Being that person feels good for a while. You like being dependable. You like being the calm in other people's storms. It gives you meaning, something solid to hold on to. At first, the gratitude feels like love. People thank you, lean on you, call you when they're breaking. You feel useful, important, needed. And for a moment, that fills the hollow place inside, the one built years ago by conditional affection. But slowly, something shifts. You start to notice how one-sided it all feels. You remember birthdays, show up during breakdowns, stay up past midnight listening. But when your own heart feels heavy, the room grows quiet. Your phone doesn't buzz. The people who text you paragraphs about their pain send one-word replies to yours. You start wondering if anyone truly sees you, not just the version that gives, but the person beneath it. And the truth creeps in gently. They've begun to see you not as a friend, but as a function. Not as a person, but as a resource. Your comfort, advice, safety, all in one human package. It's not that they don't care. It's that you've trained them, without meaning to rely on your strength more than your presence. You became the emotional scaffolding holding everyone up, and forgot that scaffolding isn't meant to live there forever. Over time, that imbalance leaves marks. There's a weariness that sleep can't touch, a quiet ache that builds each time you say, "It's okay, I'm fine," when it isn't. You start smiling by habit, you keep listening, but your mind drifts somewhere far away. It's not anger exactly, it's depletion. Psychologists might call it compassion fatigue, but you just call it being tired in a way that feels like disappearing. You can feel the edges of yourself blur. Your thoughts echo. Does anyone notice how quiet I've become? Would anyone come if I stopped reaching out? Still, you keep showing up, because that's what you do. because being dependable is the only identity that ever earned you love, because stopping feels dangerous, like dropping something fragile you've carried your whole life. And so you carry on, even when your hands shake, even when your chest feels heavy with unspoken words. You keep being there for everyone, while secretly wishing someone just once would be there for you. Here's a strange part. Even when they know they're running on empty, they can't stop giving. It's not stubbornness, it's identity. From the outside, it looks like generosity without limits. Inside, it feels more like survival. That quiet rule learned years ago still hums beneath every decision. If I'm helpful, I'm safe. If I'm useful, I am loved. They keep offering comfort the way some people breathe, automatically. When a friend cries, they reach for the words before silence has time to settle. When someone sighs, they ask what's wrong before the sigh finishes. They've become fluent in everyone else's pain and a stranger to their own. They tell themselves they don't mind. Helping gives them purpose. It makes life feel orderly. Every thank you, every relieved smile delivers a tiny spark of warmth. But like a match, it fades fast. So they go looking for the next one, the next crisis to fix, the next person to save. And when they do try to pause, guilt arrives first. They hear a message echoing from somewhere deep. If you rest, you're selfish. If you say no, someone will think you don't care. That voice isn't logic, it's memory. Even when exhaustion sets in, they keep showing up because love and duty have become the same word. They've built their worth out of usefulness, brick by careful brick, and can't imagine who they'd be without it. If you told them to stop, they wouldn't know where to put their hands. In quieter moments, they notice the contradiction. They crave closeness, yet only know how to offer service. They long to be seen, yet hide behind competence. It's like standing behind glass. Visible, but unreachable. They don't know how to let anyone carry them, so they carry everyone instead. No one ever taught them that receiving can also be an act of love. So they keep pouring from a cup that's been empty for years, believing that giving more will somehow fill it again. At first, the cracks appear in small ways. They forget to reply to messages, not out of spite, but fatigue. They cancel plans with vague excuses. Just tired tonight, sleep feels shallow. Mornings arrive heavy. They start misplacing things, keys, thoughts, pieces of themselves. Music doesn't move them like it used to. Even laughter feels rehearsed, like an old line in a play they can't leave. Inside, resentment flickers. They hate that it's there. They whisper, I should be grateful. I'm lucky. Other people have it worse, but gratitude doesn't erase depletion. It only buries it deeper. Their mind, once tuned to everyone else's emotions, begins to short circuit. They notice less. They care less. Not because they're cold, but because the system is overloaded. The heart protects itself by going numb, and yet they still smile, still offer advice, still say, anytime, call me if you need anything. It's reflex now, muscle memory of kindness. Eventually the body rebels, headaches, tension, a heart that races at rest. The brain whispers panic even in still rooms. Their empathy has turned into a full-time job they never applied for and can't quit. So they retreat quietly. They stop answering calls, hoping rest will fix what's broken. But rest alone can't replace reciprocity. It's not sleep they're missing, it's care. And when they finally do step back, something they didn't expect happens. Silence. The people they once carried fade from reach, not because they're cruel, but because those connections depended on constant giving. Without that flow, the ties loosen. The helper looks around and realizes how few bonds were mutual. They start to wonder if love was ever real or just an exchange of comfort for presence. The realization cuts deep. When they stop giving, they start disappearing. Still, part of them understands. They've built an entire identity around holding others together. Now they're standing in the ruins of their own neglect, trying to decide whether rebuilding means becoming someone new. These people rarely show their pain. They've practiced composure for years and now it fits like a second skin. Ask how they're doing and they'll say, "I'm fine." Ask again and they'll laugh, "I'm just tired." They are always just tired. It's not dishonesty, it's defense. They learn that being open invites worry, and worry makes them feel guilty, so they protect everyone from their truth. They smile to make others comfortable, joke to keep the air light, apologize for their sadness before it even arrives. The world rewards that mask. People call them strong, resilient, inspiring. They collect compliments like armor plates, forgetting that armor, no matter how polished, gets heavy. When they finally have a quiet night alone, the silence feels like an ache behind the ribs. They scroll through messages filled with thank yous, but none that simply say, "I'm here." They think about reaching out, then stop. They don't want to be a burden. They don't want to break the image they built, the one everyone trusts. So they tuck the ache away, promise themselves they'll rest later. They keep performing steadiness until it becomes reflex. They forget there's a person under the performance, someone who still wants to be held, to cry without apologizing, to stop being the responsible one for just a little while. They don't realize that the version of them everyone admires, calm, wise, endlessly patient, is only a fragment. There's another version waiting underneath, tender, messy, in need, and that hidden version is still human, even if they rarely let it speak. Healing begins quietly, the same way the pattern began. There's no dramatic moment, just a slow recognition that something has to change. It starts with the smallest act, saying no. The first time, it feels wrong. Guilt rises instantly. The body tenses, waiting for rejection. But when nothing terrible happens, when the world doesn't collapse, something inside exhales. They begin to learn that boundaries aren't walls. They're doors with doorknobs on both sides. That saying no isn't unkind, it's honest. That rest isn't laziness, it's maintenance. In therapy or through quiet reflection, they start tracing their habits backward, the way being helpful once protected them, how it became their language of love. They grieve the years they spent proving their worth through service. They forgive the child who thought caretaking was the only way to stay loved. Then comes the hardest part, learning to receive. At first, compliments feel uncomfortable, kindness suspicious, but slowly they let them in. Someone offers help and they say yes. Someone listens and they actually speak. It feels foreign, like learning a new alphabet. But with each small exchange, the nervous system rewrites its story. They start to treat themselves with the gentleness they once saved for others. They make tea for their own exhaustion. They take walks without answering messages. They start listening inward. What do I need? What do I feel? The answers come softly at first, then stronger. They realize love doesn't have to be earned through depletion. It can exist freely, like sunlight, something you stand in, not chase. Then one day something subtle shifts. They still care, still empathize, still help, but it no longer drains them. The giving has changed shape. It comes from fullness, not fear. They start recognizing that real strength isn't about carrying everything alone. It's the ability to set something down without shame. It's crying and still believing in your worth. It's asking for help and knowing it doesn't make you weak, it makes you real. They build new kinds of relationships, ones with balance. They surround themselves with people who check in, who listen back. Conversations feel lighter, not transactional. They discover laughter that doesn't come with exhaustion. When someone calls them strong now, they smile differently. Because strength is no longer their disguise, it's their truth. It lives in their boundaries, their rest, their ability to choose when to give and when to keep. They still have moments of slipping back, answering every call, fixing every problem, but now they notice it. Awareness replaces autopilot. Care becomes choice, not compulsion. This is the quiet transformation from overgiver to self-aware nurturer, from being everyone's anchor to understanding that sometimes it's okay to float, to let others carry you for a while, because that too is part of love. So if you are the person who's always there for everyone, the listener, the caretaker, the strong one, this is your gentle reminder. You are not just the role you play in other people's lives. You are more than the advice you give, more than the comfort you provide, more than the calm you bring to the room. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to need. You are allowed to fall apart sometimes and still be worthy of love. You don't have to earn affection by being useful. You don't have to apologize for your softness. You don't have to be the healer when you are the one who needs healing. You are enough exactly as you are, without performance, without perfection, without the armor of strength, because even the ones who hold everyone else together deserve to be held too. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, share it with someone who's always there for others. Maybe this time you can be there for them.